Hello, I'm Dr. Ulrich, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the course you're going to be taking this semester called Introduction to Hindu Traditions. This is a course I developed originally at Youngstown State University, and I've taught a couple of times, and it's gone really well, but it's my first time teaching at University of Houston. So I'm a little different from a lot of professors. I'll actually give you an assignment every week called an exit ticket, where all you have to do is write one sentence. You get full points. And that will give you a chance to say what you liked about the class, readings you liked, readings you didn't like, assignments you think worked, assignments you think didn't work. You get to give me feedback the whole time. And I wanted to say this right off the bat because I'm teaching it for the first time at University of Houston. So I want to really integrate this course into the best way to fit for the department and to fit for your needs as University of Houston students. This is also a little bit of a boon to you because I'm a little bit more loosey-goosey the first time I teach a class. And I really while I'm always hoping for students to be really successful, and I want to be your biggest cheerleader and support, when I teach a class for the first time, I really am trying to really learn the student culture. Now, you'll also notice this beautiful surroundings that I'm in. Well, I'm in Michigan at the moment. And while this will be an asynchronous class, so you'll always be watching a video and then doing tasks based on those videos. Today, the video is coming from this lovely location. Usually I will be dressed in a very nice shirt and I'll be less scruffy, but my parents had their 50th wedding anniversary, and it was important for me to come out here. And I will be rocketing back to my home in Denver. Yes, I live in Denver. I don't live in Houston. Tomorrow, while you're watching this lecture and getting ready to do the next stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do today is pretty simple. I'm going to talk a little bit about the course, and I'm going to read through the syllabus. Why do I read through the syllabus? Well, a syllabus is a sort of contract between not only the students and the professor, but the professor and the students in the university. I set out a class, and then we work together to fulfill that class. So the syllabus isn't just my expectations for you. They are your expectations for me. I'm telling you what to expect me, and I have to hold that up too. This is another reason why I have these exit tickets that I'll talk about. That'll give you the chance to constantly be giving me feedback. The other thing about them is you can just kind of like say, I had a terrible week because of this and that. And I'll kick that around as I'm assessing you for the week. All right, so introduction to Hinduism. The first thing I think that needs to be made clear about Hinduism is, unlike any other religion, Hinduism is about India, or larger South Asia. Hinduism is predominantly, it comes from India, it comes from South Asia. Now, when I say South Asia, I mean Nepal, I mean Pakistan, I mean to some degree Burma, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, all of these places, I mean South Asia. And sometimes you'll catch me, I'll just say India to refer to all of them. But even the name India is funny because it comes from the Persian word Sind, from which we get Hindu, and we also get the Indus River, but it's not found in any Hindu scriptures. Hindus have only been called Hindus for a little while, really since the British came. So when I'm reading through old Sanskrit texts, Sanskrit, the language of ancient India, you never read the name Hindu. People will talk about being a Shaiva, a worshiper of Shiva, or a Vaishnava, a worshiper of Vishnu, or a Bauddha, one who worships the Buddha or follows the path of the Buddha. You'll see all of these things. Now, the Buddha is not Hinduism. Buddhism is not Hinduism. But the key to remember, and I want you to just jam into your heads, Hinduism, India. I had a professor one time, my first Hinduism professor, John Grimes, and someone asked him, why are you always talking about India when you're talking about Hinduism? And, he could have been flippant and said, well, Hinduism comes from India. But he said, no, it's like asking, why is there so much gold in Fort Knox? And where the United States Gold Repository, why should we look at Fort Knox when thinking about gold? Well, that's just where the gold is. Hinduism comes from India. So we will see Hinduism practiced in other places, especially the United States, but really the touchstone of Hinduism is India. Let's see, anything else to say? I told you about my wacky background. All right, so let's get on to reading through the syllabus real quick. We'll try to make this short and sweet. Okay, let me share the screen, go through the daily ritual of telling you I'm sharing my screen. All right, there is my screen. So the class is Introduction to Hinduism, Religious Studies 2034. Now, my name is Dr. Ulrich. Why do I go by Dr. Ulrich? I used to have students call me by my first name, but I've had enough conversations with women and people of color who really struggle to get students to not use their first names, to use their official titles. So I have my students call me Dr. Ulrey or Professor Ulrey. Do not call me by my first name. And the reason for that is really to be in solidarity with those people that really struggle for that. I mean, there's no skin off my back if you call me by my first name, but I think it's important that any undergraduate course be an exercise in professionalism. And whenever you can use someone's official title, you should use it. So with all of your professors, go out of your way to call them Dr. So-and-so, or at least Professor so-and-so. It goes a long way, trust me. The class is asynchronous, and I've set it up so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the classes will go live. That's what I say. But I'm going to be using a lot of videos that I've used before that I made and curated. So I'm going to try to get those up for you as early as possible, hopefully on Sundays. So you'll have the whole week to work on it. Your deadlines will be Friday and Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. What I suggest, and I know this from other students taking my class, is you pick one day a week and just watch the video or do the reading, watch the video. Well, break up the reading however you want to do it, but watch the video and do the tasks that I asked. Do those right away, get them done, be done. Most students will do those right before the deadline, but the sooner you do them, the more you'll find that the discussion forums are a lot more enjoyable and the assignments are more enjoyable if you're not rushed. All right, I live in Denver, so I'm on Mountain Time, which would be 2 hours behind you. Oh, it's 1 hour behind you because you're over there in Texas. All right, I'm Professor Aaron Michael Ulrey. I'll be teaching remotely, so I don't have an office at University of Houston. If you want office hours, it's by appointment via phone, email, or Zoom. I'm happy to meet with you anytime you want. If you can't meet with Zoom, I'll give you my phone number. I just don't give it out on the syllabus. I really want to try my best to accommodate your busy schedules. I understand that you have lives, you have work, you have other classes. So I want to work with you on those. And I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I am your cheerleader. I am the person that wants you to succeed. I am on your side. I want to work with you. And the more communication you have with me as the course goes on, the more I can work with you and accommodate with you and help you make plans to succeed in this class. Because more than anything, I want you all to succeed. So how do you contact me? I'd like you to use my University of Houston email listed above. Check email for about a 1 hour period a day, and then I just close it off because otherwise my brain gets explosive. I would like you to compose your emails in formal English and strive toward professionalism in all correspondence with me and other students. An undergraduate degree is an exercise in professionalization. If anything, I just want you to strive toward writing clearly in all correspondence. As we moved out of the pandemic, as it still roars on, we found just how much we have to communicate via email and via writing. So we need to practice writing in a professional, clear, and concise manner. And I hope this class will do that. This class will make you a better writer just by virtue of me having you write a fair bit. All right, course description. There are 1.61 billion Hindus in the world. Think about that. That's 15% of the global population. Most of whom are South Asian, and they live in the Indian subcontinent. What is the Indian subcontinent? Well, it's South Asia. That's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. But what is Hinduism? Well, answers abound. There are many answers that abound, those many answers suggest that Hinduism is not a unified entity. It's not like Christianity. There's no Pope, there's no real ministers. There are priests, but they're not religious authorities like we're used to. There's no founder. There is no Muhammad, peace be upon him. There is no Muhammad for Islam, for Hinduism. There's no, I mean, there are prophets in a sense, but they're not prophets like you see anywhere else. Your journey into Hinduism will show you a very different type of religion than you've encountered before, unless you're a Hindu yourself. And what is this course for then? To really complicate your notion of Hinduism, to give you a much more historically informed understanding of Hinduism. It's fun because Hinduism not unlike India. It's not one religion, it's a billion religions. Just like India is not a nation, it's not a country, it's a universe. It is so vast. So there are many answers for what is Hinduism. These many answers suggest Hinduism is no unified entity. Straightforward definitions are impossible. Hinduism has been declared and defined in many ways. It's called the original religion of India, a spiritual path, a perfectly balanced way of life, a philosophical psychology, just the mere worship of Hindu gods, the path to liberation, a method for generating personal prosperity, rituals for good luck and warding off the inauspicious, about caste and life stages, a philosophy of yoga, what you do at a temple, family ideologies, and more. Privileging any one of these declarations, and we will encounter all of these declarations in the class, has profound implications. And I would say the best thing to say is Hinduism is all of those things. The word Hindu is recent and is not found in scriptures. Now, Hindutva, or Hinduness, is a term that nationalists, i.e. Hindu nationalists, those who believe Hinduism should be the official religion of India, will often use to designate the religion and also denigrate others, namely Muslims and Islam. But this term only gained popularity 120 years ago. It's not found in any of the scriptures. Westerners, especially colonialists, those Europeans who established colonies and dominated India for 447 years, including the British, have used this term Hindu to identify any resident of the Indian subcontinent, regardless of their religion. So Hinduism cannot be separated from Indic culture in India. Even when Hinduism is practiced outside of South Asia, such as when it's done in the United States, temples are established using geographic analogs to South Asia. So one of my favorite temples I went to growing up, which was Westerners and a lot of Indians, was called Mother's Place, Mother's Trust, but it was located in Gunga or Ganges, Michigan. Ganges, Michigan. I just drove through there the other day. All right, so these temples are established using geographical analogs to South Asia. So a mountain will be called Mount Kailash. They'll set it up so the temple is almost as if it's in South Asia. All right, practices are directly connected to the manner they are performed in South Asia. You do it here like you do it there. Even the astrological timing is connected to the South Asian skies. So the most auspicious period will be dictated not on the stars here in the West, but by the stars in India. Since Hinduism is South Asian and Hindus are South Asian. So remember this, South Asianness is very much in Hinduism. Now, there are plenty of South Asians who aren't Hindus, but for the most part, Hindus draw from South Asian culture. Since India is the most dominant and largest South Asian culture and country, most of the course will focus on that country. Yet, Indian culture and Hinduism are transnational. Yoga studios are found in every strip mall. Talk of Tantra spreads across the internet. Hindu gods are found on t-shirts. Indian words suffuse the English language, such as pajama. Bollywood rivals Hollywood, and well, it should. And the high-tech, high-finance realm of India touches every aspect of the global economy. That said, 70% of the Indian population still lives in rural areas where old traditions and local cultures persist alongside new media and telecommunication environments. The majority of our class will focus on the past, the older, the pre-modern traditional world. But the later modules, like the last 5 modules, will all be about contemporary India, contemporary South Asia, and worldwide Hindu phenomena. The course is divided into 2 sections. 1, history, philosophy, and literature in the pre-modern South Asia. This will be diachronic. What does diachronic mean? It means moving along a historical timeline, advancing cultural shifts in Hindu religions correlated with social movements in South Asia, pre-colonial history. So diachronic, historical timeline. Then the second part is a thematic ethnography of Hinduism. Ooh, what does that mean? Well, ethnography means the studying of people through interviews and observation, and that it's thematic means we're going to look at different themes. Specifically, we're going to look at themes of death rituals, we're going to look at gods, and we're going to look at temple practices, and we're even going to look at possession, which is very common in Indic religions, especially when you get out of the big cities. All right, so thematic ethnography of Hinduism, using a syncretic method, exploring religion as phenomena. Syncretic means all at the same time. It's a phenomenology. When I say we're looking at something syncretically, it means I'm like going to a place and trying to understand the dynamics. So if I wanted to understand prayer and Protestant Christianity, I would go to a Protestant Christian church and look at what everybody are doing and try to understand it as a thing, not look for historical developments and influences, but try to be as descriptive as possible. Okay. Key ethnographic themes include death rituals, possession, pilgrimage, temple innovations, Hindu nationalism, and gurus. What is a guru? I.e. a charismatic Hindu teacher / leader. We'll focus primarily on pre-modern South Asia, though we'll conclude with modern contemporary, especially noting pre-modern, modern, and postmodern contiguities. We'll try to understand the details and implications of 4,000 years of cultures in just 16 weeks. No tall order at that. This course is listed in religious studies, but is informed by multiple disciplines, including history of religions and religious studies, Indology, anthropology, history, folklore, literary studies, and sociology. Disciplinary overlap characterizes this masala class. What does masala mean? It actually comes from the Sanskrit root mishra, which means mixed up. You also have the Hindi term masaledar, which means spicy. So when you get like a chicken tikka masala, which was actually invented in Britain, but you get all over India now, masala means a spicy mixture of things. So what about our spicy mixture of thing? It is mixed up and it is spicy. It is something for everybody. When people talk about a Bollywood movie being a masala movie, that means that there's something for everyone in it. There's a romance, there's singing and dancing. There better be singing and dancing. Singing and dancing. There will be an adventure. There will be a revenge tale. There's something for everyone in this mixed up class. The context and geography is South Asia, including India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, drawing upon global and international studies perspectives. As such, this is a religious studies course, not a religion course. We're going to focus on what people do, not what they think. We're not going to talk a lot about beliefs. We're going to talk about actions and history. Scriptures we will study are studied not to establish truth or insights into our own being, or if you're a Hindu, to understand something more about your personal relationship with a Hindu god. Scriptures are studied not to establish truth or insights into our own being, but to establish textual influence on culture and ritual. We'll always be looking at culture and ritual. One religious studies professor says that the trick to understanding religious studies is to see it as being social criticism, not caretaking of great traditions. Ultimately, there is no singular Hinduism. There is no singular Hinduism as a historical entity or as a narrative revealing itself through time. Sorry, I like Hegel. There are wild and exciting religions fomenting magnificent diversity over the multiple eras and geographies. If anything, there are Hinduisms, not Hinduism. All right, what are the objectives of the course? I want you to, students will be able to deconstruct the term Hinduism, recognizing diversity and difference in Hindu traditions. Also, you're going to connect Hinduism to its South Asian context, geography, and history, evaluate disciplines and their influence on the study of Hinduism, especially religious studies. So we're going to look at anthropology, literary theory, sociology, Indology, and folklore, and we're going to work to read with a purpose. What do I mean by reading with a purpose? Anytime you get to read something, figure out what you need to get out of it and really focus on that. So don't focus on getting through all the material, but focus on figuring out exactly what you need to learn from any reading selection. I'm going to want you to, or students will be able to develop critical thinking skills and effective rhetoric in the study of religion and Hinduism, identify topics, articulate theses, evaluate evidence and sources, apply critical research skills for traditional print and online sources, and structure writing using intro, body, conclusion structures. Students will perform a research project in 2 parts that will develop the preceding skills. Students will write with power. Students will be able to be conversant in Hindu narratives, especially the Mahabharata, a great Hindu epic, to the point that students can engage insider Hindus in the didactic storytelling traditions. Didactic means storytelling. This is actually a key point. One thing you will get out of this class, well, there are many things you'll get, but if you meet a Hindu, you will have tons to talk about. Mostly we're going to do a deep dive into some famous stories in Hinduism, and I tell you, man, if you run into any Hindu, often any Indian in general, and you start talking about the characters and plot of the Mahabharata, you'll be talking for hours. I know when I first learned Hinduism a lot better and I started returning to India as more of a scholar, I just found that I could just sit on a train and talk to Hindus for hours and hours and hours about our favorite characters in the Mahabharata. And through the unit we're going to do on that in class, you're going to be able to do the same. Students will be able to establish a clear vocabulary for describing Hinduism, including terms in Sanskrit and other Indic languages. Don't worry, I won't make that too hard. You don't have to learn Sanskrit, but you'll have to learn some words here and there. Students will be able to articulate theoretical themes such as polytheism, religion on the ground, literary versus vernacular, pragmatic ritual technologies, i.e. magic, the effects of colonialism, religion, modernity, and so on. Explore living traditions and religions depicted in practices, texts, sites, and media artifacts. Identify Hinduism in the contemporary context and demonstrate continuities with and disruptions from pre-modern Hinduism. How is the past influencing the present? And in fact, how does the present influence the way many Hindus look at the past? I want you to complicate master narratives, our big grand arguments about Hinduism, and the political implications of Hindu nationalism, i.e. the idea that India is only a Hindu nation and belongs only to Hindus. Finally, I want you to identify Hindu connections to the contemporary world, including Neo-Hinduism, yoga, tantra, deities, and so forth. All right, for the books, you have 3 books. One is a book called The Hindus, An Alternative History by Wendy Doniger. I've gone back and forth looking at so many Hinduism textbooks. This is the best one. It's the most lively. I will let you know in advance that it's controversial. I was in India when this book came out, and it had wide praise throughout the Indian press. About 2 years later, I guess some people actually read it in depth, some Hindu nationalists, and they wanted to ban this book all over India. But I was still talking to people like, this is a great book. So what happened was Hindu nationalists, Hindu fundamentalists really have continually critiqued this writer. But Wendy Doniger, she's great. And my students really like her work. I've had lunch with her a couple of times. She's actually my main PhD advisor's teacher. And I find her work just lively and to get the essence of the messiness and the glory of Hinduism. Then we're also going to read a translation of the Mahabharata by Narasimhan Chakravarti. This is based on the critical edition. It's lively, it's fun. Students always really like this book. And then finally, I'd like you to pick up a copy of Strunk and White's Elements of Style. If you don't have one, I'll refer to this as we're working on grammar. All right, so I don't know if I put in a book order with the bookstores. So just go online and you should be able to get, definitely you should be able to get a used copy of the Hindus and Alternate History. But when you go to get the Mahabharata, that is the one I want you to get, make sure you get the one that's edited by Chakravarti V. Narasimhan. That's really clear. I think it's put out by Penguin, isn't it? Yeah, or Columbia. It's out by Columbia Press. So that one will be a little bit more on the pricey side. You might be able to find it used, though, and that's fine. Okay, other materials will be provided by the professor on Blackboard. These materials may change throughout the course. I like to switch readings around as I go, especially the scanned stuff. So students are required to maintain reliable internet and access to a working computer device. A laptop or desktop is preferable. For phones and tablets are not reliable for all course tasks. In my experience, I have found if you download the Blackboard app on your phone or your tablet, it does work a lot better than reading on a phone or tablet and trying to just go into Blackboard via the internet. Should a movie or documentary be assigned that is not on YouTube, most things will be on YouTube, then the students are responsible for acquiring access via streaming services. All right, assignments. Online courses require more student activities than in-person courses. This is the trade-off for class at your own space, on your own term, and in your preferred location. If you want to take class in your jammies, you can do that. Each lesson contains readings, multimedia introductory materials, lectures, and a group writing forum. And you'll usually have a short writing assignment. You'll be asked to perform weekly assessments of the course and your performance that week. I call these exit tickets. In addition, you will have a midterm and a final research paper, and I try to structure those so they build off one another. I also don't assign long papers. I mean, I can't remember how I have this course set up. I think the first one is 7 pages and the second one is 5 pages. I don't want you writing a 20-page paper. We're going to really work on writing in smaller spaces and writing in a refined, powerful manner. I'm not planning a midterm or final exam. We will be writing online, but students should approach all assignments and communication with the professor and other students as if these were papers submitted in class, handed in on paper. Use standard grammar, spelling, punctuation. Don't use acronyms or internet text speech. All written work should be revised at least once, i.e. read out loud and edited before you hit the submit button. Cut and paste should only be used for direct quotes, and I'll talk about cut and paste in a second, which always must be cited. Be very careful with cut and paste. Students regularly will Google around and find sentences they like and whatnot, and then they plop them into their paper and they forget that they copied it from somewhere, and the next thing you know, they're plagiarizing, and I catch them all the time. Don't plagiarize. Don't copy and paste in general. And also in general, when you're writing an assignment for try to pull all of your quotes and ideas from the in-class reading. Don't just go Googling around until you find an idea that you like. Really try to draw from the course readings. Now, students are expected to read every word assigned, but this is rarely possible. So I suggest you read with a purpose. Pre-read by skimming each text, then only read the most relevant materials to the topic. Read in detail and take notes on any important sources to the course topic, to the module topic. Or if the material you're reading actually seems like it would be relevant for your paper. Optional and recommended reading assignments are truly optional. They're good for you, but you don't have to do them. If your schedule permits, I do highly recommend you read the group and short writing assignments before you do the reading, and that'll help you focus your reading or note taking. That means when a module opens up, read through the assignments first. And then as you're reading and as you're watching the lecture, you'll be like, oh, that's the thing I'm going to use for this thing. And that way you just don't get overwhelmed. Read with a purpose. Supporting multimedia videos and news articles are meant to support the lectures, warming you up for lecture topics. Whenever possible, videos will show rituals and practices, portray religious sites and locations, or support discussion and short assignments. Lectures will range in length, but they will always have PowerPoint, audio, and video. I'm an energetic speaker, and I hope you find the lectures enjoyable. Most students actually like the lectures. There will not be a monotone voice over a dreary PowerPoint. I am committed to bringing my high-impact performances from the lecture hall into your computer screen. I will make sure you have a PDF of the PowerPoint before you watch the lectures. So I'll always give you that PowerPoint in advance. Discussion boards are never really discussions, despite their promise to stimulate or simulate in-person discussions. Think of the discussion boards as group writing projects. You'll be asked to write an original post and then expand on other posts. Refrain from just passing judgment. I think this is good, or proclaiming value. This is interesting. Your task is to expand on posts, making further arguments, providing more data, or critiquing the arguments and asking further questions. Often you'll be required to cite sources and bring in further research to support your posts and replies. Again, this is not really a discussion. It's more of like a group writing in which students react, complicate, and add data and nuance to the assigned task. Discussion boards will also be used for paper writing support. So I'll have you I usually sequence out with every paper. You'll have oh, here's my topic. And then the next week the next one you'll have, oh, here's my thesis. And then and I'll give you feedback on each of these, and other students will give you feedback to really work them out. And I'll be like, all right, now have 3 topic sentences and 2 readings that you're going to use and 2 quotes. So if you just do those, you'll find that you've done a lot of the pre-writing for the paper there, and I'll give you feedback as you go. Each group writing assignment will have a rubric, and while these are group assignments, students will only be assessed on their own performance. I'll only ever be grading you. I don't expect success out of a group of students. Almost every lesson will have a short writing assignment, mostly informal and creative, using multiple styles and genres. Students tend to really like these. Tasks may include writing a school newspaper article, a letter to a friend, a movie pitch, anthropology field report, and so forth. You will also be asked to make videos and memes. Often these assignments will require you to engage the contents and then react from your own perspective or compare contents to your own experiences. My main goal in these assessments or in these assignments is to get you to reprocess the materials and do something. Each short writing assignment will have a rubric. Always give you a rubric. All assignments are designed to build skills that will be used in formal writing assignments later. Community is really hard to build online, and professors struggle when they cannot directly interact with a student in person. That being the case, as I keep telling you about this, you'll be assigned a weekly assignment of the class called an exit ticket. These don't have a word count. If you do them, you get full points. I use these in several ways. You tell me how the class went, what you liked, what you didn't like, what was effective, what wasn't effective. I use this to adjust the course design. This is especially important when I'm teaching for the first time at a new university. Also to change the reading and the assignments. I also use this to nuance my students or my assessment of student performance, and to just, interact with you about your lives. If you had a bad week, tell me about it. That'll help me understand where you're at and why you were writing the way you were. Students are encouraged to make use of the University of Houston Writing Center for longer assignments, though the writing assignment may be of use for any assignment in the course. The UH Writing Center is really useful for working on your papers. I really encourage you to use them. I worked at one of those writing centers in the past, and it can be very powerful. As you can see, the module tasks above cause students to process course materials 4 times. This is my big argument on online teaching. First, you do the reading, and then you're looking at the warm-up videos and whatnot. Then you hear my lecture. Then you do a group writing discussion. Then you do short writing. So read it, have me interpret it, do something with it in discussion, and then apply it and write it. 4 times. 4 times is the magic time, because with 4 times, you'll remember it. You really will. So the goal is multiple times seeing material so it gets stuck in your brain and gets complicated in your brain. Okay, there are lots of chances to acquire points, and I'm building in extra credit options. I've never had a student who'd done all the work do a poor grade. In all my years of teaching online, if you just do the work, I mean, sometimes I'm surprised that I'll give remarkably high grades to students who haven't done very good work, but they just did it all. So just do the tasks, you'll get a good grade. It's almost a guarantee. Grades and grading scale, you can look that up. Attendance and makeup policy. This is an asynchronous course, so attendance will not be tracked in a traditional manner by your presence being counted in the classroom. You're responsible for filling the assigned tasks before the deadlines. Unsubmitted work will be graded 0 at the time of grading. So when I go to grade, if you haven't put it in, you're getting a 0. Don't get behind. It's really hard to catch up. Online asynchronous courses are like a steamroller. And if you're driving the steamroller, you're good. If you're under it, you're crushed. So communication with your professor is key. Now, I will give you an extension based on a case-to-case basis should a student contact me within 24 hours before the deadlines pass. So if you're not going to make it, contact me 24 hours in advance. I'll almost always give an extension, unless in the rare case that a student starts asking for an extension on every single assignment. Then I will not grant extensions. All right, no extension will be granted if the professor is contacted after deadlines. Seriously, the minute you're under pressure and in danger of falling behind, contact me and we together will make a plan for success. I want you to do well. I care about your performance in class, and I want to do anything I can to support you in this. Keep in mind that Blackboard does track and report the number of times and you access the software and the time engaged with the software. So I know how much you spent time on Blackboard. All right, regarding plagiarism. All assignments submitted must represent a student's own work. Plagiarism is a serious offense and will be dealt with accordingly. I catch people all the time. You know, I'll recognize something just out of my own head. I use plagiarism trackers through the university. If you plagiarize, I'm gonna catch you, and I will come after you, and I will come down hard on you for the simple reason that you know, it's plagiarism, 1 is unethical, but 2 skews the class. So you need to be doing your own work and exploring, because otherwise you're kind of cheating your colleagues. All right, so if you use the ideas or words of others without proper citation of your source, you may be suspended or expelled from the university. On the other hand, if you use the words and ideas of others and properly cite it, it's great. That's fine. It's wonderful. As long as you cite it, it's fine. I take this very seriously, and if I suspect that you have included any amount of information from uncredited sources, I will investigate vigorously. Just don't do it. Overall, do not copy and paste, ever, in any of your assignments. Copy and paste misuse is at the root of almost every inadvertent plagiarism, and I will invariably have a student who's used tons of copy and paste off stuff on the internet or things they saw. I'll catch them, and they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was plagiarizing. Well, one thing you can just remember to do is just don't copy and paste stuff. Do not mine internet sources for material in your assignments. I really want you to draw from the assignments in class and the course materials. Those are all, I will always prefer those to a quote from an online source or from something outside of the course. Do not mine internet sources for material in your assignments. Anytime you use information from a web page or an online source or a book, you must either quote it directly in cite, or you need to rewrite and rephrase the article and paraphrase it and cite it. Always cite. There's never too many citations in a paper. Any instance of plagiarism can amount to dramatic repercussions, not excluding failing the class and even expulsion from the university. I always prefer evidence and quotes from course materials rather than outside materials, except in occasions when I say, sometimes I'll ask you to actually do outside research, and then I'll want you to. I will enable anti-plagiarism software and all of your assignments, which will check your work against other UH students, student paper databases worldwide, and public sites across the internet. Should the software flag student writing, I will begin an investigation. All right, note, if you're a student with a documented disability and would like to discuss special accommodations, please contact me during office hours at the beginning of the course. Get in touch with me. Send me your IEP. Tell me your issues. I'm dyslexic. So I've worked a lot in special ed. So I'm really attuned to working with students' IEPs and adjusting the courses and making accommodations. Again, I'm on your side. So help me be on your side. If you have an IEP, let me know. Also, if you're an ESL, English as a Second Language student, please discuss this with me. I won't just know it. I'm not meeting any of you, but I'm reading your work all the time. If you don't self-advocate, I can't help you. I take these accommodations very seriously and will do my best to help you. Understand that I understand the hardships of writing in a foreign language, since my own work involves learning numerous archaic Asian languages. Here are the university policies. In general, you're familiar with these. You see them all the time. Read them through. All right, let's quick run through the topics of the course, and then we're going to be done. All right, so we're going to start by talking about Hinduism. Today, this week, your assignment will be to make like an intro video And that'll be pretty much it. You won't have a lot to do. I'm not giving you, I'm giving you, you can take a look at Narayan's book a little bit. And but the important thing will be to get ready for the lecture that'll come on day 2 of module 1, where I do the big 25, which is a lecture where I talk about 25 aspects of Hinduism. All right, then we're going to try to contextualize what does it mean to study Hinduism and religious studies. And then we're going to go right back into the earliest era of Hinduism and talk about fire sacrifices and these texts called the Vedas. The Vedas are apaurushaya, which would mean like authorless or personless. They are the natural sound of the universe, channeled and written into Sanskrit. And out of the Vedas come this intricate ritual system that we are going to read about. So we're going to talk about that theoretically from the past, and then we're going to look at contemporary versions of Vedic ritual and fire sacrifices and the challenges to Vedicism. All right, then we're going to move forward. We're going to do a section on the epics. We're going to talk about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and we're also going to have a really kind of fun. I want you to read the translation that we have out, and we'll talk about it quite a bit, and then I'll go over the plot, and then you also will have an adaptation by Peter Brook of the Mahabharata, which is my favorite adaptation of the Mahabharata. Then we're going to talk about the different deities after the Mahabharata and yoga practices. Moving forward, we're going to do a whole day on Tantra, so a ritual system for gaining prosperity and power. It's often reduced in contemporary things. We're talking about Tantra sex. We'll talk about Tantra sex. It doesn't sound like very much fun, trust me. And we'll talk about magic, and we're going to look at some of my work on that. Then we're going to talk about yoga and bhakti. Bhakti is the path of devotion, and hatha yoga, which is somaticized or physicalized versions of yoga. Then we're going to move out of doing history, and we're going to look at death and death rituals. We're going to look at them primarily in Benares, the oldest city in India, and then we're going to look at them in Rajasthan and in South India. It's pretty slick. We're going to have a whole week of death. Then we're going to talk about possession. Now, possession we think of as only like the Exorcist movie, but in fact, there is hostile possession, which is usually connected to gender, as we'll see. And then we're also going to look at benevolent possession, where people are possessed and it's a good thing. Then we have a unit on gods and darshans. So we're going to talk about the history of gods and the sort of stuff that happens in Hindu temples. Then we're going to do a unit on Islam and Hinduism, and we're going to talk about contemporary Hindu nationalism. And we'll have a little break for Thanksgiving, and we'll come back. And our last chunk is going to be on contemporary gurus and new religious movements. We'll talk about first, in particular, one guru. And then we're going to conclude by talking about traditional gurus and how the guru operates in life. And I'd say that gurus often, these figures, these teacher leaders really do dictate innovation in Hinduism. All right, that's the class. I'm looking forward to a great semester with y'all. Thanks for taking it. We're going to have a good time. We're all going to learn a lot. All right, I'll talk to you soon.